You know, one of the things that I look at when we go to looking at schools like Classical High School and PCTA that have waiting lists, that's injustice. If our kids can get into those schools, we need to expand those schools or make those models, even some of the charter school models that work, and move them into the public schools. There is no reason that our public schools cannot function at a high priority or high level and have our kids succeed so that every child is available to be able to educate it and be able to either get to be job ready or college ready or both when they graduate. And that's not happening. So we need to be able to take the schools that we already have and be able to take those models that work and start using them. I taught for 1.5 years at DelSesto Middle School, and I saw how we just lump all of our kids together at different levels in one grade, and it's not right. We've got kids that are at level that are falling behind because they're bored, and we have kids that are below level that are falling further and further behind, or further back. And we've got to stop that. We have models that work. We need to put them in force, and our public schools will work. I'm a product of the public school system, and I know it can work. We just need to change the model.
Okay, let's go to David Berodici.
You were right, that was a long one, so I'm going to put you on the spot one more time. If you could just hit me with like the last sentence, where the real question was.
Yeah. What will you specifically do to keep public tax dollars available for Providence Public Schools, especially given that these schools educate some of our city's most disadvantaged and vulnerable children, including those with special needs and disabilities?
Thank you. This goes back to the topic that we were discussing earlier with transparency of where our money goes. I think the children in this room and the children in our neighborhood are the future, and we need to give them access to everything that we can. And I've heard heavy debate between the charter school and public school debate. I myself am a product of both public and private school, so I can't really tell you either or, but I will fight to make available the information where the funds are going and listen to you so we can figure out where to better put them if they're not going to the right places. Thank you.
Okay, Sid McKenna.
Like Les, I believe that the intent of charter schools when this started was that you would find best practices in charter schools and then be able to implement them in the public schools. So charter schools were supposed to be a type of laboratory so that you could relax the regulations and the rules a little bit so that you could figure out what works for children to be able to learn. This hasn't happened. What's happened is we've gotten a split system of charter schools that are doing their own, that have fewer regulations and can be more creative in how they deliver their curriculums. And then we have the other side, which are the public schools that are still run by the rigorous set of regulations that we have in the city. We need to do, as Les said, a better job of bringing the best practices over and tying the two institutions together. To just have charter schools drain the resources out of our schools with nothing coming back into our schools, it's not sustainable, it's not fair, it's not just, it's not equitable. We also need to work closely with the state representatives to be able to be sure that our funding does come back to the school. We need to be sure that we get our ELL funding. And we also need to be sure that next year when we hit the fiscal, thank you.
And lastly, Rachel Miller.
I agree with the other candidates up here tonight. Every student in every neighborhood, no matter the neighborhood, right, deserves the best school, deserves the best education. I believe our charter system is not working for our entire city and for public schools. And I will fight for a fair funding formula that brings money back to Providence schools.